What up, it's Jasmine Lee from People's Party here at the MOCA to bring you a very special interview with Earl Sweatshirt, led by his mom, acclaimed law professor, Cheryl Harris. We got a few minutes before the interview starts to ask our own questions, so come on. What's up?
What's going on?
I'm chilling here. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm hungry and tired.
You're hungry or hungry?
I'm hungry.
Means you need to smoke?
No, yeah.
Me too. I haven't had any all day, so This is me sober. It's a special day. You're here with your mom.
I'm here with my mom.
So can you tell me what brings you to have a conversation with your mom? Are you excited? What are you nervous about?
There's been a whole bunch of conversations involving my mom and about my mom that she ain't got to be a part of. So let her talk for herself.
You feel like you need to have her defend herself or defend her?
No, just speak for herself, whatever she want to say.
Yeah. And there's no parts that are gonna make you nervous about this interview?
Oh, I'm incredibly nervous.
About what?
Bringing the closest thing to me to public forum.
Someone you keep sacred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like saying, it already was like a public thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to get wrapped up public.
Yeah. It's better to control the narrative. What made you want to come here today?
It's calm. It made sense.
You just felt it.
It was time. Yeah, it was time. Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. What I'm dealing with is like intense feelings of like not wanting to do this naturally. But I also know that it's something that is 100% necessary. So
And you mean not wanting to do the talk or not?
Yeah, just like make me nervous. But I don't want to do it. Like but it must be done.
Yeah. You said this album was recorded from the death throes of a crumbling empire, and
That's dramatic. It's true though.
Yeah. And we posted up like live from burning Rome. What makes you feel like the American empire is collapsing?
It is.
What makes you feel that way?
The facts that it is everything. Everything. Nothing is sustainable. Nothing that's happening right now is sustainable. Real shit, I think it goes to like people en masse run out of food, water, and electricity. And then I think when that happens, then I think a lot of the minutia will go away and people will go get those things, which is what's happened across the world in places that have been in these tipping points. And then people run out of bread. So
do you talk about things being sustainable? Do you have like your own garden? Do you grow your own food
Not
and
at
things
all,
like that?
bro. Like not even a little. I don't even recycle like how I should.
Really?
Yeah, I'm doing bad, but I know what's going on.
What do you think would rise from these burning ashes if you could predict the future?
Something else. Something new. It's gotta change though. Like it will change. Whether people purge it or whether the earth purges, it's gonna change.
I don't know. I try not to look at the negative view because I feel like I like to look at the positive. I like to believe in manifestation. And I know that what you're saying is like it'd be dumb to think that things are not going to end because it's just going to happen anyway. But that's why I like to think about, well, what's going to happen once we have a new world? Because once America is gone, there's going to be something else. And,
I think it's very important to think about that, and that if you have the ability to, that you should. And hopefully it's informed by like real life facts and everything. But I can't even speak for the unknown, but I can, like, the science that makes sense to me is that this is not sustainable because the foundation is rickety. So in building a home or building anything, you gotta tear down your foundation.
Oh yeah.
So, and then people could figure out what the house look like or what the next thing is gonna look like. But I think as long as people are still, and I think people are 4 years closer I think this is a lot less crazy for me to be saying right now than it was 4 years ago. Like, I think everyone... I don't know. Like, bro, what are y'all gonna do? You know what I'm... Do you ever have, like, a thought about, like... I remember when the earthquakes happened? Mm-hmm. There wasn't a moment during that where you was like, here it go. Like...
I slept through every earthquake that has happened since I've lived here. So I never had a moment of this is the end. Not once. But I'm also a super beyond positive person. And like almost to the point where people might think I'm naive, because I always like to think of the best of everything, the best of every outcome. And I feel, well, go on.
Oh, I agree with you. I think that that's important. I had a friend that was talking about the importance of fantasy in terms of like liberation and like just what that means, like thinking outside the box. Because you have to, because your thinking has literally been put in a box on purpose. So you have to be fantastic. You have to go see something that might not be there. But I feel like any time that I've been less attached to the truth, no matter what adjective comes before the truth, whether it's the sad truth, the unfortunate truth, the fortunate truth, whenever I've not been attached to the truth, then I'm really, really sad, dejected, and lost. But like, yeah, as long as I feel like I'm really looking at the facts, then that's the closest I can get to like feeling good, because I'm informed. I know what's going on. But yeah.
Music makes you feel good?
Yeah.
Do you play other instruments besides rapping?
I used to play saxophone when I was younger. I play keyboard, but music is like where, yeah, it's my medium. That's my...
Your safe haven?
That's where I go to expand my consciousness and my heart.
We talk about being woke a lot on People's Party, and you talk about becoming woke, and you know the story when you were listening to Erykah Badu with your mom, and she said you weren't woke, and then you realized you were. What was that realization for you? Like, how did you realize that?
I think woke is dangerous now.
Saturated.
I think that as an identity is hella saturated now. I think it was useful, and I think it was cool. I gotta jump on the hipster train real quick right now. I remember when woke came out in the car when we was listening to Erykah, when the phrase came out, bro. Pre-Twitter, because Twitter didn't get woke till like...
It became cool, popular.
7 years after the thing came out. Yeah, I think that woke is weird as an identity, but I also don't want to be Mr. I've been educated for so long, like you guys that think you know what I mean? Because that's annoying as hell as well. I think that, yeah, like I said when you was asking me about what my hopes are, it's like I hope that people get to a point where we can stop being so stingy with resources, whether it be information or whatever. It's like, you gotta share that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody gives a fuck, bro. Nobody cares if you've like retained all this knowledge that you... It's not like, what's its utility if it's not helping someone?
It's not beneficial.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like, you know, that's where I'll talk with my mom like a lot about academia. And it's like, its shortcomings. Because on the one hand, it is its own language, it's its own arena that is and was and will continue to be incredibly useful and resourceful. But a lot of times, it's like, who are you talking to? Like, and then you look up and realize, I'm talking to all white people. Like, I am trying to break down blackness into more so that white people can understand me when that's not really the goal of the, but that's some American shit though, of like, we as Black Americans feel like we gotta justify our humanity, our existence, our culture, our everything. You wanna intellectualize it for what? It's like, bro, you don't need to speak about it. Like, like, we understand this. We don't have to
have a word for it.
Yeah, like, so, yeah, I think that should be the push for the 2020s. I think woke was mad necessary for what was happening, because that was, like, people gotta stop being so embarrassed. Like, all right, like, you used to straighten your hair, you used to listen to My Chemical Romance, the Trayvon Martin video came out, okay, like, you put on a dashiki.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's okay.
You can do both.
Or I'm just saying, you could fall back. You could stop trying to lead the conversation on things, because that's what the issue is. It's like, that was very necessary, woke, because people was like coming from where we was coming from in the previous decade, trying to figure out what the next shit was gonna be. And then people was like, all right, the next shit is being socially conscious. And some people adopted it as an aesthetic, which can be harmful and detracting, but I think there's ultimately, that can't be all bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the cool thing to do is to be socially aware and politically aware, it can bring in mad imposters, which is what I was saying. But I don't think it's all bad, and I think, like I said 5 times, 2020, share your resources.
We are very, very honored and privileged to host this conversation between Cheryl and Thebe today. Cheryl is a member of the UCLA Law faculty since 1998. Professor Harris is the author of a groundbreaking scholarship in the field of critical race theory, very, very important in the establishment of this discipline. It's often that MOCA hosts people from the music world in this space. It's often that MOCA hosts people from the academic world to give talks and readings and have panels and debates. It is not very often that we have people from the music industry and the academic world on the same stage together, and it is even less often that they are related. This is a very special thing, I think, that we're about to witness. Earl Sweatshirt, you know. One of the great rappers here in LA, one of the great rappers in this country, one of the great rappers in this world. Not even, the word rapper doesn't work. Artist works. Let me just welcome them both to the stage today. Cheryl, Thebe, MOCA.
All right, this is crazy as hell. I'm gonna just be the first one to just say it. This is wild as hell. We both nervous. This is crazy. Like, this is...
It's terrifying, yes.
Like, for real, this is wild. So I'll just keep it simple. My name is Earl Sweatshirt. And recently I dropped an album called Feed and Clay, right? The whole thing on the thing. And it was a whole bunch of stuff that I attached to it surrounding, like, late stage capitalism, the end of the world, or times as we know it, you know what I'm saying? That I found out after I researched it. But the person that gave me the phrase was my mother. And she said it in the context of vulnerability. Because I was sitting there, I guess, complimenting her on being professional Cheryl Harris. And what came out was feet of clay. You know what I mean? I said, you know, Mama, I'm like, yeah, you the one, all of that. Whiteness, property, everything. And he said, feet of clay. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know where to go from there. I'm just saying, it seemed like it.
So that was a conversation at the kitchen table where a lot of them happened. And he reminded me because I didn't remember, but it was something along the lines of, you know, your work, you're really regarded highly and all of that. And I was saying to him that one of the things that I try to keep in mind is that people that are elevated or given positions or admired or put on pedestals, that we have to remember that we all have feet of clay, that there all is something, some weakness, some struggle, something that we have to push against in order to realize who we are. And a lot of times I think, you know, as he just mentioned, the times that we're in, we are desperate to hold on to or to find something that can lead us forward. And I think what we have to remember is not that we shouldn't admire people that accomplish things that we respect, but that ultimately our fight is ours. It has to rest with us. It has to be from us, because inevitably we all have feet of clay. We do.
And I think on the topic of vulnerability and feet of clay and everything, I think that's the one that hit way more home with both of us, because the whole world ended up being more of like a backdrop for whatever each of us are going through individually. You know what I'm saying? It definitely informs it. But our relationship as it's played out has been incredibly vulnerable since I was 15. And it became one that started happening in front of the world, which is also part of the reason why I wanted to do this and say yes, even though I felt like it was so soon. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to prepare for this and like be some totally different type of person by the time this happened, with a connected beard and like some whole upright, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like this was incredibly necessary just to show y'all, if I'm trying to show y'all who I am, giving y'all really the complete picture. So this is my incredible mother, bro. This is... And I feel like I had to just come proclaim it publicly. So with that being said, I'm not gonna spend a whole bunch of time talking about things that I don't know very much about. I'm gonna turn the reins over to my incredible mother.
That was a real slick pitch.
I got you, I'm here, on backup, I got you.
All right. So, let me just say, I think at some level this is a dream, because it's an honor to be on the stage with my son. I am incredibly proud of the work, of his empathy, of his willingness to confront the things that are difficult to confront, and the willingness to develop. You know, it's really easy to stay where you're comfortable. It's very easy to stick into something that's comfortable, but Thebe never lets himself get comfortable. And I totally respect that, because it's a lot of risk-taking involved. And we never really know what's gonna hit or not, right? You never really know what's gonna connect with people. And I just wanted to say publicly that I'm incredibly proud of you. He talked about, you know, the birth of Earl. on the internet. And, you know, there's a lot of conversation about the internet these days, and there well should be, because it's kind of an interesting thing when the tool takes over the user. You know, it's like it was a tool, but it's become its own thing, its own space, its own universe. And it isn't always the case that we are in control. It's controlling and setting the terms upon which we interact with and understand each other. And so one of the reasons that I agreed to do this, even though I told him this is absolutely terrifying. I mean, I talk a lot, okay? I talk for a living in front of students, in front of people, but this is very different. And I'm completely terrified by it, but it's okay, that's all right, it's all right. The thing that struck me is that part of the reason that I agreed to do this with him is not just to be able to acknowledge him as the artist that I believe him to be, but also because it was an opportunity to give some context to a relationship that had been, you know, kind of seen through different ways, different eyes, and, you know, in different times. And one of the things that I think is important for all of us is to allow ourselves and things to evolve, right? And so one of the things that this has done is it's opened up an opportunity for us to talk about how we talk and what it is that we are getting from each other and what kind of family support means in the context of a situation like that when you're growing up in the eyes of the world, you know, and the eyes of the world are sort of on you. How do you hang on to who you are? How do you become the man, right? How do you go from being a boy to man? So that was one of the reasons that I agreed to do it. And as we were talking about the internet and this tool that is controlling the users, I've been thinking about and reading a lot about the way that the architecture of some of the systems that we work in are built. And one of them is, of course, the internet is built around algorithms that attach words to images to ideas. And what we know now a lot about algorithms is that they reflect the people that build them, which is us, right? And they reflect all of those biases, all of that racism, all of that structural problems in it. And so it's important I think for us to keep it in mind that it has not only the capacity for obviously great interconnection with people, but to understand why it is always falling short and why it will continue to fall short until we fundamentally transform the systems upon which it is built. And that has to do with, you know, the ways in which the built environment, both the physical environment and the built environment of ideas, is reflective of the kinds of ways in which, going back to the times of slavery, systems of knowledge, finance, politics, and everything have been built. So that was some of what we were thinking about and talking about, because of course when you started, the internet was a thing, but it wasn't even like it is now, right? I mean,
yeah, the internet seems to be a much more, the echo comes back like really quickly now. And I feel like one thing that might be frustrating to everyone that's like my age right now is like how your computer will like assess you like very quickly. Like all of y'all smartphones, computers have a read on y'all personality right now. Things you like to say, which song you gonna play at like 11. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, it's much more vicious.
it's faster.
It's faster,
Yeah.
and a lot of things that constitute a complete human experience get lost on the internet with the rapid, you know what I mean?
Of course, you've become the master of the 2 minutes.
But that's, what you mean? Of like, of bars? You just switched from the internet to bars. Talking about the bars. But yeah, that's part of the reason why, actually, though. As people, I started to care less about the third verse as people's attention span started to get shorter and shorter, mine included.
Well, I know we had a debate about that when you first told me that, you had these like 2.5-minute songs.
Oh, for some rap songs.
Yeah, for some rap songs, and I was like, I don't know, man, is that gonna actually give people enough? And then the more you talked to me and explained it, well, first of all, I had to stand down, right, because it's his project. But the second thing was that I remembered back when I was young, way back, the songs we listened to, the Motown songs, were all 2.5 minutes, less than 3 minutes, right? And the way we learned them was we just put them on repeat, right? And that really helped me understand that there was a connection, right? And that there was, even though something was driving, it was different, which is the times are different, that the understanding is that, first of all, if the music is good, it doesn't matter how long it is. And secondly, we actually do want and crave repetition sometimes. It's like what we want. Yeah.
The concept of the loop, keep coming back. Yeah, 2-minute songs.
Yeah. So what have you been listening to these days?
What have I been listening to? I've been listening to a whole lot of Billy Woods. I showed you that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I've been listening to, what have I been listening to? I've been listening to the song that we made the other day. That is what I've been listening to. I've been making a lot of music.
You've been listening to your own?
Yeah, I've been listening to my own music.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, what you been listening to?
I've been listening to a lot of classics. I've kind of gone back into my classic mode, so a lot of Nina. Nina's been on my mind. And actually for today, when we were thinking about it, and I was asking you, like, what do you remember when you were little listening to? Do you remember what you told me? No. Huh? Yeah, horns. He said horns. And I was thinking about one of the things that we did a lot when you were young is we listened to a lot of African jazz. And so, horns, yeah. So I've been listening to a little bit of that. Yeah. So what else is new?
What's new? They know what's new with me. What's new with you? I told you gotta plug your mixtape.
Mixtape.
You want me to lob it to you?
Yeah.
All right. Let me craft this up real quick.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna deal with you.
Uh-oh.
Trying to figure out how we get to specifically what I want you to talk about.
Oh, you have an objective.
I do have an objective.
Okay.
All right. So there's no such thing as anything that exists without content. Context. Sorry. We can agree on this, correct? So a conversation I had over the summer, we were kind of discussing that. We were discussing our own experiences as people and the context that informed it. So we said, and it was a conversation that started at cryptocurrency, that in 3 smooth jumps had us all speaking about slavery and the direct effects it had on all of our families. Like, because you go from cryptocurrency to capitalism, then you go to what is capitalism built on, and it's just very quickly you end up like right here. And we talking like, this is a bunch of black dudes talking about they fathers and they fathers' fathers' inability to be there for them. That quickly, this is what I'm saying, that is informed by how the fuck you ended up, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not very far away. So with that messy attempt at an alley, I'm gonna need you to oop that on through for me with some more context.
Well, it's interesting that you say that it just came out of the conversation that you were having with your friends, because it speaks to the fact of the ever-present afterlife of slavery, which is something that never gets discussed in terms of a constant. I mean, there's a constant kind of conversation about politics at one level, you know, this party, this program, that program, but the fundamental architecture of the country was built around the protection of the institution of slavery. And enslavement was both a system of labor extraction and property. And it's the and property part that I got stuck on. When I first started teaching law school, I went to read a case, a very famous case called Plessy versus Ferguson, which was a case from 1896 involving segregation on trains. And it's the case where the Supreme Court said that that segregation did not violate the Constitution. It was consistent with equal protection. And even, and basically that was the system, the legal system ratifying a system of oppression that already existed. So it wasn't like they created segregation after the decision. It already existed, and the legal system was ratifying it. Anyway, in this case, the guy that was charging or challenging the rule, Plessy, was a very, very fair-skinned black man. And according to the case, he appeared to be white. And so my question got to be, well, how did they know to arrest him if he looked like he was white? And then that kept taking me down several layers into the case and learning that it was a case that was arranged between the plaintiffs and the railroads, because the railroads were frustrated by the fact that there were different rules about who was white and who was black in different states. So in some states, it could be, if you were 51% white, you were white. In some states, if you were a quarter black, you could be considered white. It just ranged from state to state, and it wasn't that the railroads didn't want to have segregation because they wanted to please their customers, and their customers that they were concerned about were white, and whites wanted the system segregated. But they wanted to be able to do it on their own terms. They didn't want to have to wrestle with this state's rules versus that state's rules. So the upshot was, as I kept scratching and digging and reading the whole case, it turned out one of the arguments that Plessy's lawyers made was that because he looked like he was white, he enjoyed the reputation of being white, and that when the train conductor put him on the car reserved for blacks, it deprived him of his interest in being regarded as white, and that interest was property. And I was completely taken by this, horrified, I guess, and taken by this argument, but it struck me that that was some of what we were still dealing with today, in the sense that the existing way in which racial inequality is so both present and considered normal has to do with the way in which whiteness itself, even though it has changed over time, has operated to make this system appear to be normal. And any disruption, any pushback against that is seen as problematic, because that's what's putting race in the picture. When you're pushing back, that's being racist, because you're focusing on race. The neutrality of the system is actually a mask for its whiteness. And so I started tracing back to the dispossession of Native people, the enslavement of Black people, the way in which property itself was defined as a right to exclude. And I don't just mean that in a metaphorical sense, I mean that in the literal sense, right? Who gets to sit where, who gets to own property, all of that tied up the idea of property with whiteness itself. And so to your conversation with your friends, one of the things is that if one simply stops and takes off the idea that all of the pain and the inequality that we see is normal, which is actually what we've been encouraged to feel, that we can actually start to trace these things back. And it doesn't go back very far. It's not like it's a long distance trail. The dispossession of Native people is happening right now. In fact, where we're sitting right now, right? This was indigenous land, and this is a present act of dispossession that's happening right now, because nobody has asked them, nobody has consulted, nobody has said, is it okay for us to use your land this way? Right? That's not even part of the conversation, right? So I say that to say that I really do believe that the presence of the past, and part of the task of the musician, of the artist, is to really unbury that history and to bring it out. It might seem strange for me to say about history, because so much of, Thebe, what you talk about is like what's happening in your life right now, right? And that might not seem to people like history, but it is, because if you actually look at how, as he was saying, look at how the relationships are, look at what's possible, look at what's not possible, look at the ways in which there are certain kinds of connections that are interrupted or not permitted, like what street you can walk down and feel free. By the way, what street is that? That those are reflections of and aspects of the legacy that we're living with, right? Oh, and on the cryptocurrency, I kind of went way off on the other end. The money. One of the other things I think has been part of what I've been working on recently is to really dig into the way in which the entire financial system, as we understand it, mortgages, foreclosures, currency, money, credits, debt, all of that has its template in slavery. The way in which the system kind of developed technologies of managing money and transmitting money and insurance and credit and all of that, that all came out of enslavement. That was one of the first global financial systems, right? And so a lot of what we see today is a recurrence of certain kinds of patterns that got worked out then. I'm not saying nothing changed. You know, we've gone to crypto instead of just currency. But it's the same patterns, same pathways, I guess I would say. Yeah.
remember when we was in the car, it was raining, it was like 2 years ago, and I was like, this was probably, because we're in year 4 of 8 of 45 right now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So this was probably like year 2. And I remember it was at the light. I was like, you think, like, what do you think for America?
What did
Not
I
what
say?
do you think for America, but it was like, is this
Is this it?
is this ship savable?
Yeah. What did I tell you? I don't remember. I told you no. Yeah. Not the most easy answer to give your son, but I think it's the truth. I don't think as constructed, this can't last. The thing is that it does a lot of destruction, just in the normal course. So when it's under stress and crisis, it's real crazy, real all the way crazy. But I find that, the honest answer is, if you're looking at something that cannot be fixed, then the answer has to be, what do we build? What do we build? And, I won't be here to see all of that. But I know that the people that mentored and taught me, right? Like your grandmother, like a whole host of people, that's something that was part of what they were transmitting, right? That the idea is that you have to be able to see past the things that you're in. I mean, if you think about it, going back to this thing about slavery, we're not supposed to be on this stage. If enslavement had actually done what was intended,
Oh, we'd be dead.
we'd be dead. We would not be here. So the fact that Black people live, right, in the face of Black death, that's been the whole time. That's been the whole time. And we can and do in part because of what we do. And that's where you come in.
With the bars.
With the bars, exactly. So
One thing that I had to overcome that I felt like was very topical for all of us at a certain age was apathy in the face of everything that my mother just said. Being very apathetic once I pulled back, once the cognitive dissonance was shattered. Once I started looking at things as they are, I got very depressed. I think it happens. I think it's very normal for everyone. But I think if the world is a dumpster fire, like you're gonna feel really bad if you're not taking you a bucket of water and throwing it on something whenever you can. You know what I'm saying? So that's just for anyone who's figuring out their apathy, their lethargy, their frustration, depression, whatever.
yeah, because apathy is one of the great tools of the ruling class.
For real.
In fact, so one of my favorite poets, Jane Cortez, yes, hard. Jane, and she actually performed with her son. Did you know that?
Hard.
Yeah. Jane Cortez has she's an amazing poet, but she has a poem called There It Is. And one of the refrains is, the ruling class will tell you that there is no ruling class. And one of the reasons that I was sort of reacting to your apathy was not because I haven't felt it myself, and not because I haven't been depressed myself, and not because I wasn't at, one time 22 and feeling like the world was just too much, but because of, what I read her to be saying is that apathy is really the tool of domination. It's one of the ways in which it keeps things down. And apathy is really just a defense mechanism. It's just, and it's natural. It's a defense mechanism against the assault, right, of too much.
I'd rather do nothing.
Yeah, I'd rather do nothing than, yeah.
But then you gotta do something. Then you have to do something.
Yeah, right. Well, you gotta breathe.
Right.
Yeah. Gotta breathe. That's what somebody told me today when I was telling them how nervous I was. Breathe. Okay. So, what's good? All right. Well, I'm not sure if we want to just keep talking.
You got more fun facts?
Fun facts?
Fun facts.
I don't know if I got fun facts. Well, we could talk about back to the internet. The other day, I was telling Thebe that I still don't have, he knows this, I still don't have a Twitter account or an Instagram account or a Facebook account.
That's super out. Don't cheer. That's super out. Don't get it to Instagram or Twitter. That's out.
And so I was telling him that I went to a writing retreat, and some of the women there were saying, no, you gotta get, you gotta get on your thing, you gotta open up an account, And so I came back to him and I said, they're telling me I gotta get an Instagram account, and you're just like, no. So I was wondering what that's about. How come you don't want me to have it?
You are our liability on the internet. Parents are the children's liability on the internet. If people find your parents' Instagram, it's crazy, bro. It's just mad selfies. I'd be on FaceTime with you. You'd be like this, what the fuck?
Well, okay.
Get a gram, live your best life. Grown. Get a gram, bro. Go ahead.
Okay. So, but if we were to entertain this, what should my Instagram name be?
I came with like 3 10 out of 10s the other day. What was it? Oh.
Come on.
No, I said it something crazy. The first one was the real Professor Cheryl Harris.
That's so boring.
That's hard. They know
boring.
that's hard. They know that the real Professor Cheryl, that's hard.
That's boring.
All right.
I know what I said, but no, you said something else. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The real Earl's mom? What are you saying? That's hard. What else? Nah, it was I really did like a civil rights flip. It was hard. What is it?
I don't remember. I just remember the one I came up with. Because you were saying all these boring ones, and I was looking at the real Earl's mom, or Earl's real mom, or
hard.
Yeah, Earl's real mom. The other one was, I know what, because I'm from Chicago, I said Chicago Red, that was one.
Chicago Red, let's go to Chicago Red. 2 Ds.
Oh, it could be Professor Chicago Red. What do you think?
They say, ooh. They was like, oh, that's
He's frowning. He don't like it. No, he don't
No,
like
it's
it.
too much, right?
Too much.
That's why they got excited.
All right. Well, who knows? Maybe there'll be an Instagram to come or a Twitter. See, I have to stay up on Black Twitter. It's hard. Otherwise, I have to just Google stuff and, you know. Part of the reason that I never did it, though, was because I was afraid. Well, actually, partly it has to do with him on the internet. It's like he took up all the space. I was like, oh.
The internet is set up. The internet was nasty and young when I first utilized the internet to do whatever. The internet, as it's set up right now, you will go crazy on the internet. If you go on live.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the
reason. Do you know about
the
live feature?
I heard about it, yeah.
You're gonna go crazy.
Well, one of the reasons I haven't done it is because I'm afraid I'll fall in.
I know you are. That's what I'm saying.
It's
like
you know, I'll have it, you know, always here. And
you should do
it.
I think it's time.
It's time? Okay. All right. So maybe an Instagram, maybe Twitter to come. We'll see. So, shall we dance?
Play a slide?
So, okay, I'll tell you something maybe you didn't know about him. But it won't be embarrassing. I promise. Well, at least I don't think it is. He's an incredible comedian. No, really. I mean, like, really. Like, if he wasn't doing this, he could be doing that. And one of the things that my partner and I remember from when he was young, we were talking about this the other day, is that he would grab onto whatever tape or CD or whatever he could find of any comic and just dig into it. And we're talking about like from the time he was 6 or 7. And he would be grabbing stuff like Richard Pryor, you know, and I'm like, oh no, Richard is my guy, he's a genius, but 6, 7, what do we, So the only solution, because he was just driven, he would not stop, is to watch it with him, right? That was the only way. And then he had a buddy, and they got into Monty Python, and that was a real period. That was a real thing. You knew it had to happen, right?
I forgot about that era.
But I say all that to say that maybe one day Earl will do an album of comedy.
What are you out here spilling beans, man? Just plug your mixtape.
Plug my mixtape.
Plug the tape.
All right. So I think I'm good.
We did it. It's done. It's over. I hope that y'all gleaned something useful from this.
We did.
Yeah, we needed this maybe more than y'all did. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're taking 2 questions.
Is there a woman that has a question? Is there a woman that has a question? Here she comes.
Hi.
Hi.
So my question was to Thebe. You spoke a lot about the apathy that you experienced at a certain point, and I'm wondering how the music that you're making now and the genre that you and your peers are kind of in right now works as a method of decolonization in the music world.
I think simply put, sometimes it's not explicitly shiny or for sale. You know what I'm saying? It's like it come out how it come out. it is for sale. You can obviously go buy, feed them, you can do that. But its goal when it comes out isn't to sell the most, is to get it off. You know what I'm saying? Figure it out. Rap helps me figure out life. It's just the medium that I figure out life through. All the niggas that's close to me know that I spend most of the day, whatever we talking about, I got a bar for, like, from someone else. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's just where I figure everything out. But you know what's funny is sometimes, in you know, the spirit of figuring it out, sometimes I record some shit and I'll be like, damn, like that was hard, like I was super turned. And then I'll listen to it the next day and it'll be like 7/4 off Feet of Clay. Where it's like I recorded it and I was like very juiced, and then I listen back to it and it sounds like a funeral dirge. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, all right, that's what it is. So yeah, Apathy.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, one more.
For Earl, I want to ask, how much do you care for your work to be understood? Because I do research into Black radical music aesthetics under the rubric of Afro-pessimism. And one thing I see from artists like you and others is this sense of the Black collective unconscious, realizing that because Blackness is always already illegible, then there's less of a struggle to try to be legible, to try to have these long drawn out songs and verses that are super descriptive and try to fit into the narrative form. So does that resonate with you?
Rap music is slave music. Number one, is just the modern day iteration of it. So slave communication, you know, had to be encrypted. You got a code. You know what I'm saying? So, and then, really, if I understand it, then it's like teaching. If I understand the subject, even if you don't know it off the bat, I can teach it to you because I can paint this picture very clearly. If I know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Like all the way, writing is a very meticulous process for me. Cracking my own code, how it come out garbled and it take me a minute. So.
Thank you. Yeah. We did it.